The room was suffocating with silence, yet all eyes were fixed on her. A trembling young woman sat at the witness stand, clutching the edge of the wooden rail as if it were the only thing keeping her from collapsing. The judge leaned forward, his voice sharp and commanding, cutting through the hush. "Speak up, young lady. This court demands your testimony." Her throat tightened, her palms slick with sweat. For months, she had carried the weight of a secret that could shatter reputations, destroy lies, and change the course of justice. But speaking it aloud felt like stepping into fire. "Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening." She glanced toward the crowd, faces blurred into a sea of expectation and judgment. Somewhere in the back row, the man she feared most sat motionless, his cold stare locked onto her. Every instinct told her to stay silent. But silence had already stolen too much from her life. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Dust drifted lazily in a beam of sunlight slicing through the tall windows. Her lips parted, but no sound came. The judge tapped his gavel impatiently, the sound echoing like a drumbeat against her chest. Her mind screamed, "If I speak, he'll ruin me. If I stay silent, he wins again." Her heart pounded louder than the murmurs rippling across the gallery. She remembered the nights of fear, the whispered threats, the cruel way he twisted the truth to silence her. She thought she would never escape his shadow. She was wrong. The judge's eyes softened for the briefest moment, as though he saw past her, trembling into the storm inside her. "You are safe here," he said, voice quieter now, but laced with authority. That single phrase loosened something in her chest. Her whisper came like the breaking of a dam. Fragile, almost lost to the air, but piercing enough to freeze the entire courtroom. "He hurt me. And he lied." Gasps filled the room. Chairs creaked. A ripple of shock moved through the crowd like a wave. Even the man in the back, once so confident, so untouchable, flinched as though struck. Her words, small as they seemed, carried the weight of truth too heavy to ignore. For a moment, time seemed suspended. The judge leaned back slowly, his face unreadable, but his silence carried more power than any outburst. The jury shifted, leaning forward, drawn to the fragile courage that had cracked open the air. Her whisper had become a roar, not in volume, but in truth. And truth, once spoken, cannot be buried again. Yet even as relief seeped into her bones, a tremor of doubt lingered. Had she done the right thing? Would the world believe her? Or would the same cruelty that once silenced her now return tenfold? This was the moral weight pressing against her. Justice was never simple, never clean. But she knew one thing. Her silence had chained her, and her voice had broken those chains. The judge's gavel struck again. But this time, the sound wasn't a demand. It was a signal. Proceedings would continue, but everything had shifted. The power no longer rested in the hands of intimidation. It belonged to her courage. And as she looked around, she saw faces in the gallery change. Some were wide-eyed with disbelief. Others carried tears. And somewhere in that mix, strangers silently nodded, as if to say, "You are not alone." Because courage doesn't roar. It whispers, steady and unshakable, until the whole world must listen. And in that courtroom, where silence once suffocated her, her whisper became the loudest sound of all. Oh, remember this. Kindness doesn't vanish. It waits. And it finds its way back. The story began with silence, and it ended with a whisper that shook the walls of justice. If this story touched you, share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe for more stories that reveal the quiet power of truth and courage.